super backlit. This is where I normally make my toys, and it's not the best area for recording. So let me see. I at least, there we go. I at least drew the curtain so it's not as bad. This is a little better, maybe. We'll see. You don't necessarily need to like see me, but seeing all the stuff that we're going to make is a different story. So, hello. Welcome to our little impromptu how to DIY shreddable toys. Emily and I have been talking a lot this week about how we can help everybody who is at home with their dogs, and their dogs may not be, uh, may or may not be loving having people around 24/7. And we've been getting a lot of people requesting different enrichment ideas while they're home with their dogs. So we thought that we would put together this little impromptu live so that y'all can make some toys with me because I needed to make toys for Oso anyway. So this worked out really well. So I have a bunch of different things to show you. It's still not awesome with the back. Hold on. We'll try this one. There we, enough. Better enough. Okay. So I have a bunch of things that I was going to make today, and so figured let's show you how I make them. They are super simple, and with my DIY shreddable toys, they are primarily made of literal garbage. And so in the event page, I posted a few things that I thought everybody would have at least a little bit of. So if you want to follow along, you're welcome to do so and make your dog some of their own toys. So things that I'll be using today, and now everything's behind me because I had to move. Tissue boxes and egg carton cardboard, not the like styrofoamy, specifically cardboard. Egg carton containers. Like things like granola bar boxes or cereal boxes, anything that's like that really thin cardboard. So there are a lot of other types of boxes that work, but that's what I currently have in my stash. Paper towel rolls, I only have one right now, and it's already pre-chewed. Toilet paper rolls, there's some sort of uncouth joke there with toilet paper hoarding. And I also told you guys kibble or treats and newspaper. So that's everything that I had in the event page. I was going through my DIY toy supplies because, yes, there's a part of my office closet that is devoted to storing these things until I have like a toy making spree. So I also found in there these like cardboardy beverage holders. I have a lot of those, and some like drink beverage carton container deals like that. So I'll be making those as well, but those are, I don't expect other people to save those things or just have them lying about their house. So I did not include that in my supplies list. So I'll just get started making things. This is really like informal, loosey-goosey, so just like talk with me as we're making things, so I'm not just talking at you for the next half hour. We'll get started. All right. The first thing that we'll do is the kind of building block of my shreddable DIY toy stuff is newspaper, crumpled up newspaper that has like a kibble or piece of treat in it. So I get my newspaper out, and these giant pieces of paper, I just rip them in half, and I only use the half sheets. Oso has been doing DIY shreddable things for a long time. Let me move this down so you can better see what's happening on the ground. Does that work better? We'll find out. So he's been doing this sort of stuff for a long time, and so his stuff is potentially more complicated than you would do with your own dog. But you can feel free to experiment, see how, like, if they're playing with it, if it's too frustrating for them, all of that. I'm just going to dump these out on the ground here. So, building block of my toys, super simple. For Oso, it's a kibble. For your dog, it might need to be a treat. Oso loves shredding. We'll talk about that in a moment. Just piece of kibble, newspaper, crumple it up, the end. Building block. And sometimes if I just need something quick for him, like this is it. Or I won't even put the kibble in it. I will just do crumpled up newspaper with him. So super, super simple. This is my building block here. My second building block, a little bit more advanced building block, is I just take this crumpled up newspaper, put it into toilet paper tube, bam, new building block. A little bit more difficult. And this is why I do the half sheets of newspaper instead paper tube, and I make a lot of toilet paper tubes. My husband kind of thinks I'm crazy because if he accidentally throws out a tube, I will salvage it from the garbage if it's not too nasty. So call me crazy, but I think I'm just being a good dog mom, Toso. So potato, potato. With these toilet paper tubes, a lot of times I'll give Oso just this as well. Again, something simple, especially if he is around while I'm making these things. You'll notice it is very much devoid of Oso right now. I threw him outside so that I could actually make things without him trying to eat all the things that I'm making. So with this toilet paper tube, one of the things that I like to do is just with a tissue box. And they usually have these like plasticky things here, so I just rip out the plasticky things. It's super, super easy to rip these out. So just rip out the plasticky things. Oh, hi, Susan. You are welcome. I'm glad you're here and enjoying different shreddable ideas because I love making these. So I just put toilet paper tube into tissue box, and I had some pre-made ones already. I cheated a little bit. 4 of those toilet paper tubes fit pretty nicely in here. This is, again, getting a little bit more complicated, but this is what I do for Oso since he likes complicated shredding things. And then I'll just stick another piece of newspaper in the top of that. So it's even harder for him, and that's what it looks like, and I can give him this entire thing. This one takes him more time than probably any of the other ones that I make because it's not only like the tissue box with the newspaper on top, it's also like he has to take out the toilet paper tubes and then go into the toilet paper tube. So this one takes him the longest out of all the options that I do. George, I love your comments. Good dog mom versus crazy. I mean, it could be both. I mean, let's be real. Like, the answer is both, right? I both think I'm a good dog mom and I am crazy. So yes, I approve of that comment. And then let me show you a couple of others, and we'll just get into like chatting. I mentioned paper towel tubes. Again, this one has been pre-chewed because Oso loves just shredding things, and he's not alone, right? Like a lot of dogs love shredding things. Like it's kind of what dogs were made to do, was to like gut stuff. And now that they're not hunting live animals, for the most part, there are dogs out there who are still doing that, and hunting dogs and all that, though they shouldn't be gutting things if they're hunting dogs. Regardless, so one of the things with Oso and why I do all these crazy things for him is he loves shredding stuff, and it's a natural species typical behavior. So I want to give him an appropriate outlet to do all of that. Um, but I don't want to pay a lot of money for it because he loves shredding stuffed toys. And while a lot of people think that's kind of taboo and don't want that, it's a totally valid way for a dog to play with a toy, right? Like that's what dogs were made to do, was to gut stuff. So, um, while I appreciate that he likes to play that way, I can't afford to just buy him new stuffed toys every day. He demolishes them in minutes flat. So I do garbage instead. So he still gets to shred things. He gets to be a dog and do his normal doggy thing, and I don't have to pay a lot of money for it. So that's why I do all this for him. And we'll be talking more about that, like natural shredding sort of behavior in our April training challenge. So, for those of you who are making toys alongside me today, teaser, spoiler alert, that you have a leg up on the April training challenge that I do live on the first Sunday of every month right here. So if you're here now, you can be here for that. Um, Chelsea said the amount of fluff on my floor right now. I feel you. Like whenever I go to the store and they have those like little like $2 clearance toys. Yeah, I I will get a couple of the like $2 clearance toys for Oso and let him have a good time, and there's just like fluff everywhere, and it's snowing in my house essentially. um, okay, so that's a little bit about just shreddable things in general. So this was the reason that I started talking about that. So for Oso, the treat inside of these is like extra fun, but really he just loves shredding things. So this is a self-reinforcing behavior for him. He loves shredding things. So a lot of times we will just give him the empty version of all the stuff that I showed you, and he has a good old time with that. And we'll go seeking things out, like at in our previous place. I didn't have like a particular space that I could save all of these, so they just hung out in the bathroom, and he would be like a little squirrely kid some nights, and then just go into the bathroom and find one and bring it out. So that was good fun for him. All right, same thing with your paper towel tube, and I usually stick a few of my little newspaper building blocks into here. Usually about 3 works really well, and this is something that I would just give him by itself. I don't necessarily do anything more with this. So we have that one. What else haven't I showed you? Oh, egg carton container. For Oso, this is an easier one to go through, but he really likes the particular type of cardboard that this is. Like with the tissue box, he'll shred it a little bit, but doesn't go back to it. With something like this, he'll keep going back to it and like keep shredding it until it's in these little tiny pieces. And yes, I have to clean up the tiny pieces, but I would much rather do that than have him shredding things I don't want him to shred. Super easy for me to just clean up little cardboard pieces. Mary Kay, that's hilarious. She said Fonzie is a stufficidal maniac with his toys. Yes, I mean so many dogs are, right? Like it's what they were made to do. And Misha, hi Misha. You don't even have a dog, but I appreciate that you're here. Are you consistent with what treats you put in what? Oh, that's a good question. For Oso right now, I'm just using like kibble sample that I had. And I put that in everything for now. But if I had a dog who wasn't as good at shredding or didn't know how to do it or anything like that, then I might up the treat value for that particular thing. So, like I said, for Oso, I don't need to necessarily even put stuff in. He just appreciates it. But if I had a dog who didn't know, like especially something like this, didn't know how to necessarily use this, I might up the treat value for something like this. Or if they even didn't know how to do something like this, the thing that I think is easy might be really hard for some dogs. And so I might up the treat value for that. Or even just start with something like this so they get the whole, like they can shred things and they can do that fun sort of stuff. That's a really good question. I see, learning for future potentially. I enjoy that immensely. So with my egg carton container, I just put some kibbles in the little egg spaces, and some newspaper on top of this. And I just kind of like scrunch it up a little bit so that it looks like that. And then I'm just going to close my egg carton. Voila! And this is one of Oso's favorite types. He loves the egg carton especially. And then granola bar / cereal boxes. There are a lot of different ways that you could do something like this. So like you could do just toilet paper tubes. I need one more, since apparently 3 fit in that box really well. So we're just going to do one more. So you could do just kind of like the tissue box where you have the toilet paper tubes inside. I could even, because Oso is a master at these sort of toys, I can make it harder for him because he is capable of a little bit more difficulty. And even put an extra piece of newspaper just on the top here. And then my little type A brain likes to close it back up and it never works, and it makes me angry. But that's another option that you have. You could do with, if you wanted something a little bit simpler, you could do just the crumpled up newspaper, your like smallest building block in here, or you could just like throw some kibbles in there and or treats, and maybe stick some newspaper on top. Or if you wanted it to be super simple, like if you have a dog who doesn't yet know how to shred all of this stuff, you could do just kibble in a closed granola bar box, and make it super, super easy. Let your dog have lots of frequent wins with this. Okay. So Mary Kay asks, so if you have a dog who is just getting started with this type of enrichment, which of the toys you are making now would you recommend to help your dog be successful? That's a really good question, Mary Kay. So if you have a dog who is truly just starting out with this, I would go for your most basic building block of just treat in crumpled up newspaper like this. If this is too hard for them, because we can always make it easier, right? Like if you try something with your dog and they say that they're not ready for it, they give up, or they're getting really frustrated, like maybe they start barking at it, we can always make it simpler so that we meet them at the level that they are currently at, and then build them up to some more difficult levels as they get more proficient with that. Just like we do with humans, right? Like we don't start humans in college, we start them in preschool. So you could start with something like that. If that was too hard, the simplest thing that you might want to do is just like newspaper on the ground. Pretend this is the ground. And treats on the newspaper. No, they are not shredding anything right now. Get it? But we're just pairing like newspaper and treats happen together essentially. We're building this learning history. Newspaper and treats happen together. And then I might do just like folded newspaper, treats still in here, right? Just on the ground. So we're still pairing newspaper and treats happen together. But you have to do a little bit of work for it. And then we might do one more fold like that. And then we might do some light crumpling. And then we could do these, like I do really tight crumplings with Oso, and he's going to love this one because I just put like 7 pieces of kibble in this. But yeah, so that's how you can build your way up to your dog being successful with something harder like what I've been making for Oso here. Great questions. Keep them coming, guys. I like all the participation that is happening. So I'm not just like feel like I'm talking at you. I'm talking with you. I appreciate that. Another thing you can do if you have larger boxes like this, so I could do just like newspaper in the bottom there. And then I could even do like my granola bar box that I did inside this larger box and then put newspaper all around. Apparently not this newspaper though. Having the trubs, y'all. There we go. We got it. We got it. So I could just put newspaper like on the sides of this granola bar box here. It's hard to say. Granola bar box. And I'm going to put one more on the top here. I might actually use a full sheet on the top here. So we have this like little box inception thing happening, box in a box sort of deal. So that's an option that you have too. And let me show you the couple of others. Oh man, time is flying by. Things that I had in my stash that I didn't have you guys doing. Beverage carton containers. This is the same type of cardboard that the egg cartons that I have are made of, and so Oso loves this. So a lot of times we'll just give him this and he gets to have fun and shred it. But if I wanted to do something extra with that, then I could do, oh, here it is. Again, just like crumpled up newspaper, smash it into a hole like that. I've also done them where I have, and like crumpled up newspaper on all 4 of these, and then a second one just like that, and painter's tape them together because the painter's tape is not as sticky so that it doesn't stick to him, but I have to monitor him with that so that he doesn't eat the tape. Like it gets stuck in his mouth or something like that. So I don't always do that because a lot of times when I'm giving him these things, because I've watched him shred stuff so much and I know he doesn't like really ingest much. Like every now and then he'll get like a little piece that like gets stuck to his tongue, but it's cardboard. It's not the biggest deal in the world. So a lot of times I'll give him these sort of toys when I am on my way out somewhere in the normal world. So I like to make them so that I don't have to sit there and monitor him because I've already monitored him and I know how he interacts with these toys. That was perfect question timing, Chelsea. Chelsea said, do some dogs eat the enrichment? Yes. So for Oso, like I said, I know that when he's interacting with these toys, he's truly just shredding. He's not trying to ingest anything. If you have a dog who's ingesting this stuff, then this might not be appropriate enrichment for them. Or, um, like sometimes Osa will come back to something and decide he wants to eat it. And so we just know like we have to pick stuff up quicker. Like we can't necessarily have some of these things just lying about all the time. Um, so yeah, if your dog does ingest cardboard and such, this might not be an appropriate form of enrichment for your dog. Um, okay, George said, I am having a hard time finding ways to challenge my dog. What are some of the most complex ways you have designed toys? That's a good question. Um, I think the tissue box is the most complex that I have, but what I would say, George, is one of the options you have would be to hide the toys. So, in the morning when I feed Oso, he gets part of his breakfast out of a food puzzle. And it's a food puzzle, like he's been doing this food puzzle like every day for years at this point. He's it's not the food puzzle itself is not as challenging, and so I hide the food puzzle and he has to go and search for it, and that part is the more challenging part. So if you're finding where there's like no level of toy that you can make that is challenging your dog, appropriately challenging, I should say, not to the point of frustration, but appropriately challenging your dog, then try hiding the toy, and that ups the challenge factor really nicely, I think. I'm trying to think if there were any others that I've made that are more difficult. Usually the ones where you have to like put stuff in other stuff are more challenging in general. Yeah, good question. Keep the questions coming, guys. The last one that I haven't shown you that I do is with little drink containers. Again, just newspaper in here. My creativity only goes so far. At the end of the day, it's really like stuffing newspaper into other stuff, because that's what works for my dog. And that's a good point too, especially with like talking about like, is it challenging enough? Is it too simple? All that sort of stuff. You know, look at what that sort of enrichment does for your dog, right? So for Oso, when I give him stuff like this, he shreds it, and then usually he goes and like takes a nap or resumes his nap if I was a little off in the timing of it, and I gave it to him during nap time. So for him, I know that the level that I'm providing him is pretty good, and he has access to the shreddable stuff that he doesn't sometimes try to eat, like throughout the day. So I have thank you guys. um, my guess is that my audio went out when I moved. So the things that you missed while I was talking. Also, Chelsea, your screaming my name in chat is hilarious, and I appreciate it. Um, so what I was saying was, he has access to shreddable things just like throughout the day. He really likes shredding stuff when he is excited or nervous, like all the strong feels. He likes shredding stuff, and you can see him like visibly be calmer after. Still no sound. Well, that's dumb.